Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, where we explore personal, professional, and financial success stories of top achievers. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity, the podcast that dives into the journeys of entrepreneurs who turn their visions into reality. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of hosting Michael Anderson, the owner and CEO of ITCI. Michael's story is one of resilience and innovation as he transitioned from a career into the intelligence community to establish a successful consulting firm. Join us as we explore the challenges he faced, the lessons he's learned, and the strategies he employed to build a thriving business, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or looking to scale your exciting venture. Michael's insights are sure to inspire and guide you on the path to prosperity. Hey, Michael. So in the intelligence area, can you possibly give us a little bit more insight about the business that you have?
Sure. So my business is a consultancy focused on risk assessment and on cybersecurity. So there's two parts of it, really. There's the part that does all kinds of risk assessment, whether that is cybersecurity related or geopolitical related, or you name it. We take a look at our clients' risk profiles, and we employ strategies or develop with them really strategies to reduce their risk and to prioritize which risks need to be addressed first. So in that view, we have developed a particular specialization in cybersecurity. We like to think that we are ahead of the curve in terms of really understanding how cybersecurity risk plays into a company's overall risk and how to mitigate particularly cybersecurity risks. As everybody knows, cybersecurity is a situation we all have to face. Threat actors act upon us literally every second of every hour of every day, and trying to reduce our vulnerabilities to these threat actors is a main part of what I do.
So being in the space and being here for about 20 plus years, that's a long time. There has to be a lot of competition that's came over the years. So what do you think sets you apart, and what comes easier to you that might be challenging to others?
So the most important part of this, let me just go back a little bit. When my father established the company, it has kind of a funny name if you split ITCI out. Interactive Terminal Consultants. You may go, what the heck is an interactive terminal? So when he started it, it was a company very much focused on cable television and the then booming world of telephony and cable and video and all those sort of things. When I purchased the company right at the beginning of COVID times, it had not really done very much in a while. So I bought this company from my father, made it a family business. He's still the founder and president of the company. And we took a bold move into working in cybersecurity. So what sets us apart? A couple of things. First of all, most cybersecurity companies that you're going to come across are very much focused on cybersecurity and not the business that they are there to support. Cybersecurity really is not the most important thing any business does. The most important thing every business does is business, whatever that may be, right? So if you're a pencil company, you make pencils. If you're a car company, you make cars. If you happen to be a telecom company, you help people connect. Cybersecurity is not the center of your business. It's a thing that allows you to do business safely. And my job, what sets us apart, is that we realize that these things are not the center of our clients' lives. They would really rather just get on to making money and doing what it is they do safely without the risk of a batch of cyber actors getting into their networks and data and stealing their data or causing ransomware or denial of service. We really put your business at the heart of our effort, trying to help clients cost effectively deal with these things. You're not going to be able to do it all, but understanding where you get the most bang for your buck, the most juice for your squeeze is part of what I do and part of what sets us apart from other cybersecurity companies that frankly will come into any given business and offer the same solutions to them that they've offered every other company that they've ever dealt with. They don't really understand the business of their clients very well. And so they just give like these generic, oh, you must do the same old things over and over and over again. We're quite bespoke. We're quite putting the client in the middle of our process and understanding their business and how to help them secure it.
So you were saying that, the heart of everything is really the business itself and not really, the security, the cyber part is more or less being able to really communicate to the world, right?
That's an enabler.
Yeah.
It enables you to do your business as safe and frankly, with the enormous amount of regulation that you have, at least free of government interference, as much as that's possible, right? Because one of the real challenges that a lot of businesses face is that there's so many regulations, CMMC, HIPAA, NIST, you name it, FedRAMP, whatever. There's so many of these regulations that it can feel very daunting for a lot of businesses, especially medium-sized or even small businesses, to deal with all of this. Like they're there to make a widget or they're there to make the thing that they were passionate about. Cybersecurity very rarely is the thing that they're passionate about.
Right.
So enabling them to get past these regulations, enabling them to get past the adversaries, that is a full-time job unto itself, one that a lot of people really don't feel like as if they're well equipped to do. I help them equip them to do that.
Okay. So turning into the smaller businesses all the way up to the large scales, what do you find is the biggest challenges in each size of a business? So like the smaller, like what on difficulties do the smaller ones have versus the big ones or the medium size? Like is there always a specific problem or is it more very generic?
So most small businesses, the biggest challenge that they face in cybersecurity is almost completely a lack of it, or even a lack of understanding of cybersecurity, because frankly, they're very concentrated. A small business CEO has got a lot on his plate with very, or her plate, to be fair, very, very limited resources which to deal with it, right? And they're concentrated on their business, whatever it may be. So from their perspective, the real issue that they face is that they don't necessarily understand those cybersecurity regulations very well. It's not the center of their lives. They may not necessarily understand what their clients are asking from them in terms of cybersecurity or how to cost effectively deal with those demands. From a big business point of view, you face a whole different ballgame of problems. Many big businesses get to be big businesses because they buy out their competition or they buy up their supply chain or even down the supply chain, right? So they are trying to super glue together a lot of different cybersecurity architectures. And those may not super glue together all that well. So you have all of these fissures that come with merger and acquisition practices. Little bits where these things aren't fitting quite right. You're doing it this way, they're doing it this way, and you're like cybersecurity programs passing in the night. Right. Those create all kinds of vulnerabilities. And in the process of creating all these vulnerabilities, they may not really even understand where their vulnerabilities may rest. They may have been under the impression that the company they bought had their stuff together, when in actuality, they may not have had their stuff together all that well. So there is a lot of moving parts to a large organization. They may have a large number of resources. They may have enough money to deal with the problems, but helping them spend that money effectively is one of the things that I do for large businesses that I don't necessarily do for smaller businesses in the same way. Smaller businesses just looking to establish a cybersecurity program. Large businesses trying to figure out how to make it work.
Okay. So for the ones who are listening, because we do have different viewers who, just vary in the career atmosphere, what would you suggest that they do to be like a lot better in the cybersecurity atmosphere? Like, what would you ask them, or what would you tell them to do? Like, hey, like, this is where you need to start.
Where do I start, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where
Right.
do I start? It's a question I get a lot. And where you start is understanding who you are. First of all, understand your most important resource, your most important asset, whatever that may be. I call this the first come to Jesus moment. Because what is it that you really do? And what is the thing that allows you to do it? Is it the data? Is it your people? What is it that really enables you to do your business? That thing, whatever that thing is, that you have to protect above all other things. That most important thing, whatever it may be, that's the family jewels. Next step you have to figure out is, after you do that, come up with some scenarios that may put that at risk. Is the data the most important thing? Well, then the most important scenario at that might be somebody who steals it, or worse, somebody who encrypts it, or worse, an insider employee, right? That decides that they're going to start their own company based on your information. Like, you have to figure out what it is that's really important to you, and what are the threats to that thing. Next, you come up with the vulnerabilities. Well, maybe the thing that is the vulnerability to my thing is my open architecture that allows just about anybody to come in without using a password or two-factor authentication. Maybe it's the fact that the door doesn't have a lock. There could be a lot of different things that allow a vulnerability to happen to a client. At that point, when you have those things in your mind cleared up, go to www.itci.pro and give me a call, because then we can figure out how we're going to safeguard that data or that information or that most important thing. And we'll come up with a long list of the right ways, most cost-effective ways of protecting the most important thing to your business, whatever it may be. But a lot of cybersecurity companies will come out and say, well, you need access control policies, you need this policy, that policy, this other policy. You may not. Honestly, the truth of the matter is that you might not. We don't know what you need until you actually know what's the most important thing to you. Once we know that, we can figure out what you need. That's not the hard part. Happy to collaborate with anyone on that.
Okay. I know that, I kind of dabble. I love, just kind of know a little bit of everything. I'm seeing that the AI space is becoming a very big area where not only does it help with job growth, but it also has big holes, and there aren't any regulations related to AI because it's so new. Because it's kind of like how the .com bubble was, right? There wasn't any really big regulations until it got bad. So, do you see any regulations really hitting the AI space? I know deep fakes are becoming a lot more prevalent. I'm seeing that. I've heard that even when people call you and you say like a few words, you even say, "Hey, who is this?" They can mimic your voice after that. Like, how would you tell people to either be able to be aware of it, or how do you think regulations would be implemented later on in the future?
So we're seeing the beginnings of, I wouldn't say that they're mature yet. We're seeing the beginnings of AI regulation. The NIST has already come out with some. I believe the European Union is coming out with some kind of first round. I mean, these things are never perfected in the first round. Right? So there's going to be some jostling here. There's going to be some shaking things out to see how this works. The problem with the regulatory environment surrounding AI is that AI is moving very quick. And regulators who, even under the best of circumstances, are always playing catch up, are going to have a very hard time with AI, because AI is moving very fast and is quite international already. So even if you have regulations concerning AI in the United States, that may not cover you to AI that originating in India or China or the European Union, right? So there's going to be a lot of international collaboration that has to happen. There's going to have to be a lot of it. It's going to take probably a solid 10 years, in my view, before the regulators really genuinely have a good idea as to how to deal with artificial intelligence or machine learning, which is strange because they've had at least that long. I mean, the first amount of AI that we've seen, everybody's had a conversation with Siri at this point, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's strange that we're still having AI is new.
Yeah.
It's not really, right? So the regulators are going to be playing some catch-up ball. International collaboration is going to be critical to that. At the same time, the enormous amount of innovation that's going on in AI is meeting up with its own daunting problems. So, for example, one of the problems that we are seeing with AI isn't just with cybercrime being enabled by AI, but that AI itself poisons itself over time. I just give you an idea, right? So you go to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, give me an answer about a question. And ChatGPT searches the internet or whatever and comes up with an answer to your question. But a lot of the things that it's already answering from were other AIs answering similar kinds of questions. So in a weird way, AI removes itself further and further and further away from reality the more you use it, right? There's an AI death problem going on when the questions, and anybody who's used ChatGPT will tell you, like the second or third time you ask it, it seems like the answers just get a little weirder and it's strange.
Yeah, you have to be very specific and kind of tighten up. Yeah.
You have to be very specific, right? In order to get an answer to a very specific question. That's not happening to you alone. That's happening across all of AI. AI has a long way to go before it's a genuine replacement for people in this regard. I don't personally believe that AI is going to simply be rid of the vast humanity of folks out there. It's going to be an enabler for a lot of people, good and bad, right? So if you're doing good in this world, AI will help you. If you're doing bad in this world, AI is going to help you. And if you're using AI to catch people who are using AI badly, then AI will help you there too. I'm not personally afraid of it. To me, I think that it's going to be very useful for a lot of people to do away with a lot of the rote parts of their job that frankly they didn't really enjoy very well in the first place. It's not going to be a substitute for the creative part of people's personalities or the genuine value add that people can give to any process. AI will help you get past all of the meh of your job and move you to a different space.
Right. Yeah, I actually use, I use ChatGPT and AI in different ways. I hate writing papers, personally. Mm-hmm. Never been good at writing papers, never been really good at grammar or anything in that sense. So it's a blessing and a curse, because I feel like, first we have, I don't know if you remember Vine, right? Vine was a major platform, 30-second videos. Everyone's like, oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. So we have so short, all 30-second videos. Now we're hitting TikTok. TikTok is now, we went from 30 seconds to maybe 15, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that the evolution of AI is also helping that to where we're losing our brains less. So our basic calculations that we can't use, we use someone else.
We're certainly using our brains differently, right?
Yeah.
It's, and one of I don't just do ITCI. I'm also a professor at a small college in Connecticut. Okay. I teach management of information systems. And I will tell you, one of the things that you notice is that your students are using AI, right? Like they are doing some of their projects.
Why not?
AI and why not, right? So, and they're probably also they're using it to assist them in writing papers, no doubt. I mean, I'm not. I mean, we all know it. Everything.
Yeah, right.
Your professors out there didn't think that this is
Yeah, they're like, that's not possible.
right. So the question that is interesting to me isn't whether or not students are using AI. It's do they pose the question to AI so that they get an interesting and worthwhile outcome? In other words, are they smart enough to use AI smartly?
Right.
And that may well be the future of education to some degree. It is, can you use artificial intelligence in a way that you get answers that are useful to humanity? Or do you use artificial intelligence in a way that just regurgitates in an increasingly poor way answers that we already know? Right? So, or even if, the question may be one of creative content, right?
Right.
Are you posing to AI questions that have genuine, interesting, creative outcomes? Or are you just doing the same old in the same old way that AI has seen 1,000 times before and regurgitating, I don't know, chungus out there with generating fat rabbits, right? To me, it's education is going to settle. It's not going to happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
It'll happen over time. It'll change.
Right.
That we are going to eventually ask of students, like, okay, we know that you're out there doing this, but are you using it in an interesting way? Are you using it to actually better? Are you coming up with something new and exciting? But in a way, this is the same old problem, right? Ever since the dawn of the internet, people have been using the internet to generate information that goes into their education. But some of that stuff was bad before. It's not that it's changed markedly now. And people are very afraid of AI, but to me, it's the possibilities of an assistant that helps you be more than what you know already, virtually endless. Hopefully, people will change education in such a way that it advantages those who use it in an interesting way. And unfortunately, for people who don't have to figure out how to use AI in a useful or creative way, there were always people who didn't use the internet in a useful and creative way.
Yeah.
There's full of people who use the internet in bizarre and not useful ways. That's not going to change.
Yeah, I definitely love trying to adapt. And I feel like especially more seasoned small business owners are not as open to using AI. And I feel like that a lot of them, even in cybersecurity itself, I feel like that they don't see that as really a threat because it's not in their face. Does that make sense? It's not really, it's essentially like, they're like when the internet came out, everyone's like, oh, like it's not in my face. But then as you slowly realize everything you do on the internet comes back to you. So how do you see that's going to happen related to the curve of knowledge on businesses and the growth of it?
That's an interesting question, and it has kind of three answers that I can think of. First off, if you have this conversation about 10 years ago, they would have said, you would be asking me a very similar question, except about cloud computing.
Right. Yeah.
If you are to ask me 10 years from now, you would ask me a very similar question about quantum computing. Right? So the curvature of these kinds of knowledge questions, there's always going to be a thing at the time that is going to cause people to feel like there is a new risk on the horizon. Part of that's media driven, right? AI is the hot topic. And because AI is the hot topic, people are going to be concerned about it. They're going to be hearing a lot more about AI. So they feel like, well, if everybody's concerned about it, maybe I should be concerned about it. But it's just a tool, ultimately.
Yeah.
Like the cloud turned out to be just a tool. Quantum computing will turn out to be a tool. Like, these are just hammers and spanners for our times.
Yeah.
If you were to go back 10,000 years and have this conversation, somebody would be asking me about this wheel and what I thought of the wheel, and wouldn't that affect the job prospects of all the people who carry things on their back? And I'd say yes, but imagine the efficiency you can gain by just putting that guy, instead of carrying all the sticks from the campsite to the cave, if you could just give him a cart. Like, imagine you could do how we could do that. Somebody got replaced 10,000 years ago if all they did was carry sticks from the forest to the cave.
Right.
They got replaced by the wheel, and then they got replaced by the cart. Fast forward all the way to now, and people are now worried about whether or not they're going to get replaced by AI, or they're going to get replaced by quantum computing, or if their on-prem solution 10 years ago is going to be replaced by cloud computing. The answer is always, it's complicated, but not really. There'll always be a place for these things. It's just not going to be the same way we did it. Human ingenuity is not going to stop just because we have AI.
All right.
Now, the question that comes up about things like deep fakes and the use of shame tools, right? Because that's what we're really talking about here, is going to be one of society changing, right? Like, once upon a time, in the not so distant past, if people were to say, show their calf in public, people got very upset, and people just. But these days, you're a young man. I'm sure you've seen it. People pass around all kinds of things on their phones.
Yeah.
The days when the mores of society said, look, these things will cause permanent damage to your reputation, they're rapidly coming to an end.
Right.
Because frankly, with deep fakes, there's going to become indistinguishable between what is real and what isn't real in terms of that sort of thing. What that means in terms of society, I think it's actually not necessarily a bad thing. I think it potentially could be quite healthy for people to just get over it. Because the reality is that whether or not we implement regulations, or one government decides this is okay and another government decides it's not, the interconnected nature of the world means that you're not going to be able to avoid it entirely. Like, even in very closed societies, they now have smartphones. Those smartphones come in with encrypted communications. Those encrypted communications mean that for many governments, they'll never know what their citizens are telling each other.
Yeah.
So will we face a time when society has to come to terms with the changes in technology? I think we will.
Oh, yeah.
And what that means? Don't know yet. It'll be a very interesting future.
It's either good or bad. It's one of those things where you can't really gauge it. It's just like the market right now, right? Everything can't really gauge this. I feel like this past 5-10 years have been very, I guess, limbo, I guess you could say, in my opinion.
Yeah. Even though the state increasingly tries to insert itself into the lives of people through a lot more regulation, it doesn't seem to be holding.
Yeah.
They try. Like, Lord knows, right? And whether or not you think it's the role of the state to insert itself is not the point. Maybe you feel like it is, or maybe you don't. But it is very, very, very difficult to keep trying in an age that is globalized. The state will try, but every time the state attempts, private individuals or companies out there invent a mechanism by which to circumvent those regulations.
Yeah,
it happens every single day.
It's just like taxes, right? I mean, if we have the regulations in place, people will find ways and loopholes, right, to get out of taxes. So it's about everything. You got to be knowledgeable and understand what you're doing, and I feel like, and how you're doing it, so you're able to really hone in the skills, or just understand what's out there instead of getting misinformation. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of days. No one wants to, but I also feel like a lot of people don't want to take the time to really make sure a source is credible. If it scares you, it's gonna have clicks, right? If it seems like it's too good, it's gonna have clicks. But if it's the right answer and it's not sexy, then most already gonna click on it, right?
Well, yeah, I think that there's a certain truth to this. I also think that it will forever be more profitable to know reality rather than perception. The billionaires out there will be able to make their enormous sums of money by understanding both what is real and what the public perceives, and knowing the difference and where to capitalize on that difference. So there will always be a group of people out there who will be guided by click bandits.
Yeah.
They'll put in whatever, headline grabs people's attention, and they'll get their clicks, right? But behind that, those people are people who know what the reality is, whatever that reality may be, the actual facts. It will be most profitable going into the future, just looking at the future from my point of view, to know the difference between the two. You have to know them both. You have to know what people will click on, and that the truth of the matter is that it's not that way necessarily. And then
Right.
you'll be able to capitalize on the people who on purposely fool themselves, to put it quite brutally, because they're, what to say. They don't really care that much about what's actually going on. So as long as that remains the case, it will be important for some people, for the people who really will, make the big money of the future, to know what is actually going on. And they will search for the best sources, and they will have people on the ground to tell them what is actually going on, what the truth is at the moment. They're going to spend the extra money that isn't required and spend the extra time that is required to genuinely know what's going on. And, for the rest of people who will be guided by, fake news or whatever else, no, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. Like, they don't want to take the conversation down that direction. But one of the things that I do for clients is I help them understand that, and understand that it's much more profitable to be in the know of what's actually going on, to be without any of the varnish, the plain truth as it is, to really get it. And getting it is a very profitable place to be.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that we need to hit a space to where we're able to be profitable, but not expose. I don't want to say the weak. It's just exposed and vulnerable. I feel like that's. I mean, in the very beginning with the robocalls, right? The elderly were being really hit hard.
Yep.
So I feel like that being able, like you said, to find the reality. I mean, I remember I got one, and I got really scared for. It said, "Hey, yeah, I have your mom, blah blah blah," and it's one of those things where it's like they give you information where it seems pretty real, right? And then,
especially since your scam adversaries, are spending millions of dollars getting very good at scamming people out of money.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the hot new scam is pig butchering, right? Where invariably somebody ends up on one of your messaging applications, offering you some kind of, crypto something or another. And, who is this person? Why? She happens to be this very attractive woman. Who,
oh, yeah. There's been a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh, look at my Ferraris. Look at my lifestyle here and wherever. Yeah. And this is becoming like the hot new trend in scamming. But it's just one of the same kind of scams that have been happening to people for a very long time. Before this, the big hot scam was various kinds of, helping little old ladies with,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God, like over and over again of things like this. Protecting people from things like that is one of the things I do. Helping them understand that there are these adversaries and the way they work is one of the things I do for clients. But it's amazing to me that, in a sense, it's the same stuff. They find a vulnerability, they exploit the vulnerability for profit, whether or not that's people who are men, frankly, I have yet to come across a pig butchering scam that targeted women. It's to this day, I've only seen pig butchering scams that target men, and it's always the same stuff.
Yeah.
These scams,
What's your name?
They work the same way.
Yeah. 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 I've seen some myself where they're like, "Oh, is this Jackie?" I'm like, and after that is blood. Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, are you coming to the party tonight? I'm not Jackie. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
very sorry. You sound like a really nice guy. Maybe we should be friends.
Yeah.
Bro, maybe we should.
Yeah. I don't think I want to have this anymore. But so, as we're wrapping up, our interview, and I was wondering, do you have any exciting plans within the next few months or anything for your business at all?
Yeah, so we're relaunching our website, and we are looking to expand the company within the next 6 months to a year, potentially even doubling the size of the company.
Really?
So that should be coming up. Frankly, cybersecurity is just a very exciting business to be in. I mean, there's a lot of bad actors.
Yeah.
In a business where you protect companies from bad actors, there's unfortunately growth potential.
Yeah.
In a way, it would be better off for everybody if cybersecurity didn't have to exist. But because frankly, it would be nice if we could just go online and do what we need to do, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that isn't the world in which we live. And because it's not the world in which we live, there is growth happening in my company, as there is across cybersecurity writ large. So if for people who may come across this podcast quite by accident or thinking about what kind of industry they want to go into, cybersecurity, baby, there is plenty of room for growth for talented people in this industry. One of the things that drives growth for me is that the way cybersecurity is set up, there's very little that can be done against bad actors themselves.
Okay.
So the way the government responds, or many organizations respond, is by increasing regulation. The way I like to put it is, imagine for a moment that you are a beautiful woman walking down the street in New York. And somebody comes along and hits you in the back of the head and steals your purse. You go to the police and you say, "Somebody stole my purse." And the police say, "Yeah, we'll get to it, but why were you walking around with a purse in the first place?" And so, okay, so you don't wear a purse. Somebody comes along, hits you in the back of the head, and they steal your jacket. Like, why didn't you go to the police? The police say the same thing. Why are we walking around wearing a jacket in New York? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You don't wear a jacket. Knock you in the back of the head. Take your shoes. Go to the police. Police say, "Yeah, we'll get to it, but why were you wearing shoes?" Like, eventually, you get to the point where you're in a room by yourself with no windows and no doors, and finally, you have achieved cybersecurity. Because the truth of the matter is, cybersecurity is very much about blaming the victim. It is extremely difficult, extremely costly for the authorities to go after perpetrators. We are often in foreign countries. Many countries to extradite their own citizens is nearly impossible. It's really expensive to do so. Once you get them, there's not that many jurisdictions in the United States that are sophisticated enough to try personal and cybersecurity charges. Really, it's New York. By the way, in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. Yep. So you get put up in a hotel room with per diem while you're waiting trial in New York. That's not cheap. Then finally, if you're
Pretty expensive.
actually found guilty, well, then you go off for about 5 years or so, including time served. So that's not even a terrifically long time.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they deport you back to wherever you came from. Well, you go right back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah.
So the response to this reality has been to blame the victim. And in the process of blaming the victim, they add more and more regulation.
Okay.
And well, I mean, so how's that worked out? Not perfectly well, I'd say.
No, works that well.
We're still subject to all kinds of cybercrime. So what that means for me is that there is more room for growth in the company. We're expanding our service offerings, and we're meeting our clients where they are, and we're helping them adjust to this reality, whether they're small companies, large companies, intermediates, state, local, NGOs, you name it. We help everybody who is willing to be helped try to understand themselves better and understand where they can be helped better.
All right. Well, it's really hard to find good companies who are willing to really. It's just like a professor at a college, right? All the professors have all this knowledge, and they're used to speaking to colleagues a lot of the times at the same knowledge level. But a great professor is someone who's willing, who understands that you have to get to a certain level so your students understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that that's what your model is about. It's about meeting, your business or meeting the company that you're helping to the standpoint of where they're at, and not overbearing them to where it has to be you tell them certain things. They're like, what does that mean? It seems like you're very understanding, and you understand that, hey, some people don't have that knowledge, and you're willing to really walk with them. And that's something that a lot of companies need to have a little more of, instead of having a very big umbrella of, like you said, a plan or packages. So.
Yep. We meet you where you are, and we help you where you are there, where you need to be.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yep. We meet people where they are.
But
where they need to be.
my computer actually there we go. Okay. Sorry, for some reason my computer went into a different speaker area.
No worries.
So, if you don't mind, could you possibly tell our people and our following, where could they actually come by and see, the business? Or do you have any social media platforms, or do they need to follow you on LinkedIn, or what's the best way to reach you?
So the best way to reach me is off our website, www.itci.pro.
Okay.
And also, we're on LinkedIn, Interactive Terminal Consultants, the old long name. You'll find me on LinkedIn. We are going to establish other social media presence, but right now we're just keeping to that.
Okay. And then, is there any other thing that you'd like to tell the viewers or anything like that, sir?
Hey, consultation is free, and the company is small enough so that if you reach out, you'll reach me. So it's not some long phone tree of people. You'll get to the CEO right from the word go, and that's probably our biggest selling point, is that, we're small, we're agile, and we meet you where you are.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. Hope you have a great day, and then hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you so much, and this interview has been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast. Got a success story to share? Visit pathwaystoprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply today.